The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hello, and welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm CJ.
And I'm Chip.
And we're here today to bring you some of the news.
I'm the guy that didn't appear.
This is going to be very interesting, to say the least. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty. There we go. We're switching back and forth now. As usual now, our shows are broadcast live on FRC Media, Channel 95, with Comcast. And Chip, I think you've got some opening remarks to make before we bring on our guest.
Well, obviously, you know, the recall is continuing. The signatures are being tallied, and the campaign of the mayor to discredit everybody is continuing. And that campaign is expressly geared at taking the focus off his performance as the mayor. Now I've been one of the pages to Keith Flanagan, who said that I live in Tiverton and I'm a chiropractor. Well, I'm not. I wish I was, but maybe I'm not. But I would attempt a neck adjustment on anyone that would like to come to me, especially from their camp. I would try to treat the subluxation. The chiropractor that is not I, and if you looked at the page, you tremendous detectives, you would see that the person on that page has nothing political. There are no pictures of me. There are pictures of a whole bunch of people who you would not identify. And again, it's a diversionary tactic to attack CJ and I and everybody involved in this recall. And let me say this, regardless of anything that goes on, we are not relevant. What is relevant is the issue. The issue is that we're attempting to recall the mayor of Fall River for lack of performance. It was stipulated in the recall petition why, and this is what we should focus on. You know, let's not use the old political tactic of trying to muddy the waters by impugning the people who have a different opinion. We've seen this far too often in the city right now, and if anything is holding back the city moving forward and government to be responsive to the people, is condemning anybody, whether they be citizens or city councilors, who have an opinion that differs from the administration. That is not good government. The fact is, people do have a right to a different opinion. And sometimes when there are differing opinions, you can come to a consensus and have something even better. So, you know, the reality is, let's refocus on the issue here. You know, so all the minions out there that want to divert the attention, we are not going to bite. You can, you know, next time at least look, don't make me a chiropractor. Look, why don't you make me like a brain surgeon or something? They make even more money. So let's focus on the issue that the mayor has been ineffective and incompetent.
Well, you know, Chip, I have to ask, the 4 years you were in Ohio getting your chiropractic degree, how did you manage to go between Fall River and Ohio so fast?
Well, I actually had someone, you know, dress in a, like this. They had a mask, and so they were showing up and being on the fire department for 38 years. So the fact is that. I mean, like I said, we go from the ridiculous to the sublime, and it's the oldest tactic in the world for politics. And as we've said numerous times, let's just let this process go. The minions are attempting to disparage us and focus attention on us, and the mayor now is going to tie up everything with malicious, not just frivolous, but malicious legal tactics to try to slow the process down. And as I said on the last show, come on, let's go, Will. You know, man up. You say everybody likes you. Let's put it to a vote.
Well, what's really very interesting is the fact, and you've had meetings, I've had meetings, people coming forward, some calling us out, some calling the mayor out. People who've actually worked for the mayor in the past are giving us information, and we're putting it all together. And there's an old saying: when you have bodies in your closet, sooner or later the skeletons do fall out. And when you start falling into a position where people are no longer threatened by you or afraid of you, they come forward. And people are starting to come forward. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of this happening over the next couple of weeks. But let's get on to an issue which I thought was very interesting. The Real Estate Committee. They met, and I guess Councilor Pereira brought up that, we should try to, bring that down, make it smaller. Instead of going for 6 parcels, let's go for 4. Because it's not time to bond for money. I don't think we should be bonding for money at all. And of course, we've heard the mayor saying he's going to get the money from the CPA fund, which I thought was very interesting. A fund he doesn't control, but he's going to get the money from that fund. But I think that we've got so many people in that neighborhood thinking that their park is destroyed if these become houses. We can't afford it right now. What's happening right now is what should have happened a long time ago. Responsible leadership. And that's what's coming out. And I think that what we're seeing that this recall petition has done is it has started to, well, number one, it started to create the blue and the gray in Fall River. Those that are for, those that are against. And we're having a small civil war here in Fall River. But I think one of the things that it really did was it woke up a lot of people, and they said, we're here and we are going to be heard. And you are going to do what needs to be done for the betterment of the city. Not voting for something because it's better than what might have been, because it doesn't work that way. All right, we bonded a park with a $100,000 fountain that doesn't work. Okay, so we're going to now bond $500,000 to buy 6 parcels of land just so we can make a big park bigger.
Yeah, you're right. And the thing is that this thing has gotten people involved. They're paying attention. And I think it gets back to the core issue. And we have a guest here who will be coming on momentarily. But I think this is the issue. Let's forget about this trying to distract people. The old he who is without sin, let him cast the first stone. Doesn't matter what anybody did, even Will Flanagan. This isn't personal. This is about government. This is about the job he's doing. This isn't about whether you like your TV repairman. It's about, can he fix your television? This isn't about whether we like Will Flanagan. It's whether we feel that he's running this government in the best interest. And with that, we have to refocus, as you said, on what's best for the city. Not walking in lockstep with every idea that comes from anybody that's connected or anybody that has any political leverage in this city, and we have to really begin to look at what's best for the people. And with that, I want to call up our guest, who is a city councilor who has been branded by some as one of the people who is holding back the city of Fall River.
An obstructionist.
Because he has opinions that sometimes differ with our mayor. And with that, let's call Councilor Ray Mitchell to the hot seat.
To the hot seat.
That's what we call
seat.
it, to the hot seat. See, you even get your own little logo. See that?
Oh my God, the hot seat. Okay.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, gentlemen.
It's a pleasure to have you, Councilor.
Well, I'll tell you, it's my pleasure to be here. I was listening to your opening dialogue, and I wish people understood the finances of our city and the dire finances that we're in. I met with people from Maplewood Park Association, or Maplewood Association, and I'm going to tell you, they're great people, they're nice people. I know that their hearts are in the right place. The only thing is right now, we have deficit, bonding that when you add in the interest is in excess of $300 million that we owe. Think about that. We have, an unfunded liability that's in excess of $322 million the last time I checked, and I haven't checked in about 6 months, so it's probably greater than that. And that's why I think that we have to be very cognizant of the bonding that we do. I mean, I know that there are people on Facebook that say, I do not understand nor realize how to run government because I don't understand government finances. Well, I'm going to tell you something. When you have $300 million on bonds in the arrears and over $300 million on unfunded liabilities, gentlemen, we have a problem that has to be addressed. If we do not put the brakes on this bus, we're going to go over the cliff.
Oh, and Chip and I have both said this in front of the council numerous times. And a lot of times when we speak, sometimes we feel like we're not being heard, especially by specific councilors who I shan't name. But we look over the budget. We look over what's being proposed. We looked over bonding for different things. And parks are a wonderful thing. Fall River actually has more parks than most cities in the country.
Yes,
we have more parkland than most cities in the country. And
per capita.
Per capita, yeah, and it's a great thing that we have all of this open space and places for the kids to go and do things where they're not hanging out on street corners and getting into trouble. But we have to also look at the fact that those parks cost money, and we can barely keep up with the needs of the parks we already have to spend more money on expanding parks that are already in disrepair in some respects because we don't have the money to maintain it. So why don't we take the money that we're going to use to buy 6 parcels of land and repair the park? Have you seen the road going into that park? I mean, it's absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, as a counselor, this job would be, I think it was Grant that said, this job would be great if we didn't have to vote. And it's the truth.
It's the truth,
I mean, it'd be a great job. I mean, we'd just be PR people with
exactly.
Take care of everybody's needs and wants, and everybody would be happy. Bottom line is, that's not the job. The job is we have to make decisions, tough decisions that say, don't you think that myself and many of my colleagues would love to be able to say, you want more parkland? Here's the check. Go buy it. You know what? Our roads are atrocious. Here's a check. Let's go fix them. The sidewalks are a mess. Let's go fix them. Bottom line is we don't have the money.
Exactly.
Okay? And if you don't have the money, it's just like you at your house, okay? If you can't afford lobster and prime rib and filet mignon, you eat hamburger.
That's right.
I mean, but you have to make sure that you can pay the bills at the end of the month, and we have to make sure this is like running your house, just larger figures. You have to ensure that the bills can be paid at the end of the month.
And you're right. And I'm going to say that I want to ask you a question just about that, because obviously that's the key. The key is that people think that the city can continue to bond forever like the federal government, but ultimately we're going to hit the wall and people are going to stop giving us money and we're going to go bankrupt, and you know that. But you and I have known each other for a very long time.
Yeah.
We've agreed and we've disagreed on
And we've
different
agreed to
subjects.
disagree.
And
yeah.
we've agreed to disagree. But I will say, that I know how much work and effort you put into researching things, and I've met with you on different subjects on it, and I know you put in the time. And I want to ask you that, you've just articulated it very well about, look, you have to look at whether you can afford or not. But I want to know how you feel, and I asked this question to the other councilors who are on this show. How do you feel about being the attempts to cast you as an obstructionist when you're trying to do what you feel is right? Do you think that is the recipe? And then they complain that there's no cooperation, but it seems that anybody that disagrees with the mayor is immediately portrayed as some type of obstructionist. And as a matter of fact, on a show CJ and I were on, a former city councilor basically said that you people were holding back the city.
Well, that might be that person's, I won't even dignify that with an answer, okay? I'll leave it there, okay? Am I an obstructionist? If I don't believe I'm an obstructionist, what I think I'm doing is looking at the people's pocketbook and trying to make sure that decisions that are made, okay, are made in the best interest of the people of Fall River. If you want to call me an obstructionist for doing that, if that's what an obstruction is, I plead guilty, okay? I am an obstructionist. If taking care of people's money and ensuring that we don't go over the cliff, the fiscal cliff, that I'll tell you what, if we don't put the brakes on, it's going to happen. I'm not trying to be an alarmist here.
No.
I'm just telling you the facts of life. It's just like you at your house. If you had a mortgage that's $1,000 a month, and you got a car payment of $1,000 a month, and you're spending X amount of dollars on food, and suddenly you look at your paycheck, and you're only making $2,000 a month, and you got a mortgage and a car loan of $1,000, it's going to come where you cannot afford everything that you want. You're not even going to be able to put the electricity on. So what happens? You lose the car, you lose the house. Well, we don't want to lose the car, we don't want to lose the house. What we have to do is we have to look at our spending and make sure that we spend those dollars in such a manner that we keep everything going and at the same time prevent Fall River from going into receivership.
You know, and that's I think that's a great answer, because I think you made an extremely good point. It would be wonderful if we could do everything we wanted, because we've said on occasion that, look, I'm not against parks. I'm not against, you know, I would like to say we should have the best parks in the United States. We should have the best roads in the United States. We should have the best schools in the United States. But sometimes, unfortunately, you have to prioritize what you do with your money, and the key to that situation is understanding that this well does have a bottom, and that, you know, we're responsible, as I said, as a government to do this. And I think that it's important for the people to understand that because you feel that we can't afford something doesn't mean you don't agree with the idea. And I think that you've made that pretty clear now to the people, because I think that's an extremely important thing, because they think if we say we don't support something, we're against it. But as you said, sometimes you just can't do it.
Yeah, you know, it's just another analogy I'll give. You know, if you're making X amount of dollars and you're keeping your bills current, and now your kid comes home and says, "Hey, I want to go to Italy. Our class is going to Italy. It's going to cost $4,000." You don't have the $4,000, even though you within yourself are disappointed, okay? Because you'd love to allow your son, daughter to go to Italy. You have to say, Mom and Dad can't afford it, and you've got to make them realize that Mom and Dad only have so many dollars in the kitty, and they would love to send you, but they can't. And we're in that situation. And I'm not going to blame the current administration or any administration for some of the ills that we have. I mean, the CSO program was jammed down our throat by the federal government, and that's a large part of our debt. But the fact of the matter is, what we should be doing, and Mike Mayos has got a resolution in that I signed on to because we had discussed it, is we're asking that the administration talk to our federal delegation to see if there's a way that we can get some monies to help us relieve some of those debts. The fact of the matter is, those debts are crippling Fall River. But these were jammed down our throats, so I'm not blaming anybody. But the thing is instead of just looking at it and saying, well, it's part of the landscape, let's do something about it. Let's fight to eliminate those debts in such a manner that hopefully we can get some help from the federal government. They mandated, or the EPA mandated, that we do these projects. And were they necessary? Yes. I'm not going to argue with the concept of making sure that the sewage that was being dumped into our river and polluting the river, I disagreed with that concept, and I always felt that there was something that should be done about it ever since I became knowledgeable of it, and this is going back years ago. But by the same token, Bob, CJ, when the federal government jammed this down our throats, okay, they should have helped us a heck of a lot more than they have. And I'll tell you what, the combined sewer overflow fee and our sewage fees are a heck of a lot higher than they would have to be had the federal government given them some relief on that.
Well, what's really interesting about this whole CSO project is that if you look throughout Rhode Island, along Mount Hope Bay, Newport, Middletown, Portsmouth, Warwick, Cranston, whenever they have a heavy rain, they're dumping sewage right into the bay. And they're not being hit with these CSO projects. How come we got sued and they didn't, and they're doing it worse than we are because they got to close beaches for days and sometimes weeks at a time?
And you're talking to my point, okay? You're making my case for me. If you look at it, we are being penalized, okay, because we were polluting the river. Well, I'll tell you what, we weren't the only community that was polluting that river. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, yeah.
Were we a major part of that pollution? No question about it. But there are other communities that were polluting that river that are not answerable, and we are being held accountable, and rightfully so, but I think that they should help us.
And I agree. And one other point, though, and I am in total agreement. We should make every attempt to try to get money from the feds. You always try. But the question I want to pose to you now is, we saw what happened with the SAFER grant. There was a lack of preparation when it was eliminated. We saw what happened with Dominion, and the fact is there were grants available for the CSO that this city failed to be put in for in a timely manner. So, I mean, from your perspective, I agree. We should keep trying. But my question to you is, I mean, don't you think it's more difficult for us to get something from the feds when they can always say, look, you guys had a chance and you blew it, just like with the SAFER grant. And the thing is, and it gets back to government accountability. We blew a grant that could have helped us with the CSO and made this city, in a much better financial position, left us in a much better financial position.
Now you know why you call this the hot seat.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you, we probably have missed out on some opportunities. There's no question about it. The SAFER grant, I remember John Kerry, when we got the grant, I was standing at the garage up on Commerce Way, the fire department garage up there, and we were all assembled there, and John Kerry said, guys, figure this out because there's no more. You're not getting another grant. He was straight up front with us, and of course John Kerry was then the U.S. Senator from this area. And the amazing part of the whole thing was that was the second grant, if you remember.
Yep. Yeah,
okay, we had already gotten a grant prior to that.
Which is unprecedented, by the way.
Yeah. And
especially in that amount.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm going to tell you, what was it, 25 million or something between the two grants, figure close to that anyway. Yeah. And the next day, I called the city council secretary, Ms. Taylor, and I said, Colleen, do me a favor, put in a resolution asking that a subcommittee be formed so that we can look at how we can survive when this grant runs out, because I'll tell you what, there's so many firemen being funded by this grant that if we do not come up with some solution, it's going to be chaotic in this city. Well, I'll tell you what, we never really met. I was hoping I'd be put on that. No city council was put on that committee, but I understand a committee was formed. I understand there were 3 meetings. Now, 3 meetings in 2 years does not get the job done. The fact of the matter is that's what happened, okay? Relative to the landfill, okay, the landfill, Mike Mioza, again, and I'm not Mike's campaign manager, believe me, but I did use his name before, and I must use it again. Mike Mioza put in a resolution asking that a subcommittee be formed. He was put on that subcommittee, and if you ask him, I think there was 2 or 3 meetings in 2 years. So the thing is we didn't prepare. We've been, and all that I'm saying is we haven't prepared. Rather than being proactive, we've been reactive. And hopefully now that we've got burnt, and here I am sitting in the hot seat, now that we've been burnt, hopefully we've learned a lesson, and in the future we'll be proactive.
Well, and with that, I wasn't trying to blame the council for the lack of the CSO grant being missed. But, you know, there have been many, you know, we have a pattern in this city, and I'm trying to establish. And in many cases, the city council actually was proactive. You had resolutions in about what you're going to do about the SAFER grant. You've had resolutions about, and there were committees, quote unquote, committees put together for the landfill. And these committees, in spite of the fact that we knew everything was coming, they either didn't meet at all, or when they met, they only met a few times in a very long period of time. And we're not, you know, obviously we're not blaming you for that. And I think that goes back to the attempt at a charter change, because the city council can only do so much. And because of that, that's where we get back to having guests and saying, look, this is what you got to do. And that gets me to my next question. What's the level of frustration when you do something like that? When you put in a resolution that let's make sure we get prepared for this SAFER grant, and we blow the thing, the fire department gets eviscerated, and then everybody gets blamed, not just the person who should have been doing the work and who ignored the resolution.
Frustration is a major part right now of being on the city council, okay? But let's get back to the charter change. I am a complete, total supporter. Matter of fact, I wrote quite an article that the Herald News saw fit to publish relative to the charter change. I do think that the charter change should occur. I think that the city needs a charter change. I honestly and truly believe that in 1934, when the charter was set, okay, I feel that things have changed since 1934.
Oh, dramatically.
And I don't think that the life that people were living in 1934 is the life that people live today. Okay, so I think that we should look at the charter. I do think that, you know, if you don't have a charter change committee formed, that we're going to, down the road, and I'm not this administration, future administrations are going to be able to do the same things that have been going on now. And I disagree with some of those things, okay? I think that the council, we're elected to be representatives of the people. And you know what, darn it, we should be representatives of the people. But when you see fees being established that don't go through the council, you see programs changing, and you had no say in it, that is a level of frustration that I can't even talk about, because you know what? I don't think I could verbalize and give it credence as to the frustration that you feel when you're sitting there and you're seeing these things happening, and you have nothing to say about it, but yet you were elected by the people to discuss it, and you can't. And it's really upsetting. As a matter of fact, I am putting in a resolution. I don't know how much traction it'll get, but I'm putting in a resolution for Tuesday night's meeting that asks that anybody who is making decisions relative to fees and or new rules, such as you got to pick up barrels on such and such a day, and I mean, which I find totally asinine. I think that they should be at least 4 river residents, because 2 of the people who are making these rules don't even live in the city. They do not have to abide by these rules.
That is 100% right.
And you know what? How can you, you know, when you've got a vested interest in something, it's altogether different.
That's right.
Okay? Than when you don't have a vested interest.
And you're right.
And you know what? People who live in this city have a vested interest. So when they are making, making decisions, they know that they're going to, it's going to dig into their pocketbook, or they know that they're going to have to live with these decisions. It makes a hell of a lot different. Excuse my language. I'm just getting a little carried away. It makes a big difference, okay, to them as to how you vote for something.
Well, we're going to wrap it up, Ray. Thank you very much. We'll have to have you on again.
Have to have you on.
Okay,
half an hour goes by fast.
Yeah, it does. Hey, next time, gentlemen, put a little asbestos on the seat. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching. Have a great day.